She comes back into the store and she red in the face. She flushed red, she's shaking, her nerves are shot, and she says, "I need to sell you this gun back." I say, "Okay, I don't mind taking it back. May I ask, what was the problem with the gun?" "It's not a problem with the gun. It's a problem with me," she says. "If I continue to have this gun, I am going to kill my ex-boyfriend with it."
What are you doing for the world or for other people? Day after day, hour after hour, night after night.
There is some research that went on a few years ago, and the case study and research that was done was some information basically pulled from the prisons and the jail systems of, people that were on parole, current inmates, the whole nine, criminal activity. And they asked them what were the victims they selected and why they selected the victims that they selected. This is talking about robberies, homicide, home invasion, all the other horrific things that a person in the public goes through engaging with a criminal element. And a majority of the research, something like 80 or 90% of the research came back from these criminals who had committed these crimes said our ideal person and our ideal target to victimize would be a woman. It would be a woman because we look at them as weaker than a man. We look at them as less threatening than a man. We look at them as less secure than a man. We look at them as less confident than a man. We look at them as an easier target than what a man would be because of physiology alone. So when they look at these things, they say we will always select a woman target over a man target if it's possible because of the conditions, because of her physiology, because of her mindset, because of certain insecurities, they would say. And in going through that, that's a fact. Women are less stronger than what most men are. They're less capable of defending themselves from attacks than what most men are. We're talking about physical engagement, hand-to-hand combat. When it comes to the confidence level in taking on an attack from another man, they're less confident. As a man, you're more confident taking on a woman than you are a man because they're weaker. So on and so forth all the way down this list. And that's crazy because if all of the criminal activity and criminals in prison are saying our key targets are women, our key ones we want to victimize are women because they are easier, weaker targets, then that means for a woman, you are at the top of the food chain in regards to being a victim of some type of violent crime, at higher risk than what a man would be, only because and for the simple fact that you are a woman alone. So there is a higher regard for a woman in need of self-defense or a self-defense pistol or a self-defense handgun. Here's the problem with that in some regards, and I'll help to paint this picture. I sold a female a gun. I had known her for about a year. She came into the store, and this is a single mom, early 30s, who, pretty much has been an independent woman and doing these things on her own, in and out of a few relationships. In a current relationship, she's knew this guy for about a year or more, and things is beginning to get rocky and heated, and she's just at that point to where she doesn't feel safe. What does she do? She comes into my store, she selects the firearm that she thinks is best for concealed carry and self-defense. She gets that gun, she commits to carrying that gun and having that primarily as a self-defense tool against her versus this ex-boyfriend or whoever this guy is, right? A week later, she comes back into the store and she red in the face. She flushed red, she's shaking, her nerves are shot, and she says, "I need to sell you this gun back." I say, "Okay, I don't mind taking it back. May I ask, what was the problem with the gun?" "It's not a problem with the gun. It's a problem with me," she says. "If I continue to have this gun, I am going to kill my ex-boyfriend with it." I said, "Why would you say something like that?" Well, she had been the victim of physical abuse from this guy for some time now. That was part of the reason that prompted her into getting something for self-defense. And just recently, she had been the victim of a domestic abuse that took place by the hands of this guy. So in regards to that and her selling me this gun back, I respected the idea, but at the same time I told her, do you understand what you're doing now? Do you understand by selling off this firearm that you say you're going to use on him, you are now in a more vulnerable spot of defending yourself than what you were with it? And she says, yes, I understand that. I say, okay, that's cool. I also said, do you understand by selling me back this firearm, you now do not have a means of defending yourself with this level of force that might be necessary because he is a bigger, stronger guy. And he's a more psychotic guy than what you are. She says, yes, I completely understand that. I say, okay. I also told her on another notion, do you understand that the very purpose in me selling you this firearm and the very purpose and the role of this firearm in your life at this particular time is to keep you alive in case somebody like that tries to take your life due to physical abuse, domestic abuse, whatever the case is. That is the purpose of this sale. That is the purpose of this firearm at this point. She says, yes, I understand. If I have this gun, I'm going to use it on him. I'm going to kill him with it. I have to sell it back to you. Enough said, I understand. I bought the gun back. She left the store. She dealt with her issues however she needed to deal with them. The reason that women are selected sometimes is because men view you as the weaker vessel. Men view you as the easier target. Men view you as more defenseless, easier to manipulate sometimes. They view you as an easier, weaker, softer target than what men or anybody else would be. And this woman who came back and sold me this firearm back was dealing with an issue, not of the firearm, not of some type of mental blockage, but she was dealing with an emotional issue. And most women out there, you're going to deal with an emotional issue. That's why it is tougher a lot of times for a woman to do the very things that's necessary in defending herself in most circumstances, in a lot of circumstances, than it is for a man, because they have a higher level of sensitivity when it comes to emotional things. They say, I know this guy, I love this man, or this man is the father of my children. Even though he's physically abusive, even though he punches on me, even though he uses me as a punching bag, even though he verbally and physically abuses me on a regular, I cannot bring myself to killing my baby's daddy. I cannot bring myself to killing this guy because I know him and because I love him, and I can't live with that. That is an emotional blockage. That is an emotional part of a female that doesn't allow her sometimes to overturn or overtake certain boundaries or take the stance that a female will sometimes need to take. And I completely understand that. Once again, that's called being a female. That's called having estrogen. That's called being a woman. You have emotion, strong emotion. You have a higher level of not being able to categorize and put away that emotion in a time you would need to, like a man does. That is the big difference between us. You're emotionally based and we're logically based. So what does that mean for a woman? That means that you are in a position of being a higher target than what a man is, only because you have emotional issues that you probably haven't worked out with or can't work through at the immediate time. That's understandable. But in these regards, that is the most dangerous thing to me about a woman, that especially a woman going through physical abuse, is does she have what it takes to defend herself? That's crazy. And talking to this female, I said, you have children, right? And a family, right? She's like, yeah, I have a mom that loves me, a dad that loves me and has been there, blah, blah, blah. I said, you have children? She said, yes, I have children. They're not by this guy, but nonetheless, I have small children that I'm responsible for. And I couldn't bring myself to understand why, even though she loves this person, why there's a blockage between living to fight another day or leaving yourself out there as a victim and praying and hoping this guy isn't as crazy as what you think and won't hurt you as badly this time as what you think. These things have to be weighed out, and I think this is something that a lot of instructors and a lot of people, when they talk and continue to talk to females about women's self-defense courses or women's self-defense in general, that is a conversation that probably needs to be had just from a woman's perspective. And I'm not even the one to really give that, because I'm not a woman. I can't give it to you the way a woman can in regards to connecting with you on that level of emotionality to demonstrate the reasons why you can or cannot do this. But at the end of the day, that is a problem, and that is something that needs to be dealt with.